get here. Oh, Scott, you're here. Good.
Well, I heard McGee was here. That's why I got here.
Coach, want to start with opening statement?
Yeah, I think just going back to Saturday, obviously proud of the guys the way they came out and played right from the start. Got a good lead and really a little bit of a lull again there in the second half, but turned it on again on the fourth quarter. So just proud of how they finished. Great atmosphere there at Nippert, homecoming. It was awesome to see everybody in red and for us to be able to go out and get a great win. That was obviously huge too, and it just keeps us going. And now it leads to this week. A tough opportunity for us to go to Utah and play one of the hotter teams I think that's out there. Especially them playing at home. They did have an outstanding home field advantage in that stadium, and Coach Whittingham's been there a long time. I think it's his 21st year as the head coach and has implemented a lot of great ball there over the years, especially defensively. I think they're kind of known for that. This year, they have an outstanding offense, and they're able to run the football. They keep a lot of pressure on the defense, and I think obviously it'll be a tough challenge for us. But we're looking forward to it. We're excited about it. And got to have a great week of practice.
You talk about their offense. Devin Dampier, there have been a couple games earlier where it felt like you didn't mind if the quarterback ran around a little bit because you thought you could still contain them. Is Dampier different in a guy that you let him run around a little bit, you could see some of those 60, 70-yard touchdown runs? Yeah,
I think he's certainly an outstanding football player, and it's part of what they want to do. It's not like, I think about Central Florida a couple weeks ago where, they're dropping back and then he's going to scramble to get these yards. These are called Q-run plays, and you better have your defense set up to handle that. If you're not, it's going to be a long day. I think, and it doesn't matter if it's Dampier. It could be the freshman who had an outstanding game this past week too. I mean, maybe as good a half as we've seen all year in college football. Close to 400 yards on one side and negative 18 on the other, and that's unheard of. And part of that was the quarterback run. I mean, second play of the game broke off a 63-yarder. I mean, so you have to be able to have a bunch of guys around the box, and therefore when you do that, you're maybe more susceptible to a pass. And so I think that's where the pressure they put on you, and it's obviously going to be a great challenge for us.
It sounds like they're going to start Dampier, but you mentioned the other guy. How does that affect your preparation? Are the two similar, or what did you see out of both?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they changed a whole lot. I mean, that's part of their offense, of how they're running their offense. It's going to run through the quarterback. They want to run the football a lot of different ways, put stress on the defense. And obviously, Dampier is their guy, and if he's healthy, then we anticipate him playing. And, but now for them, they got to feel really good about the fact that, hey, they got another guy they can put in there and had an outstanding game. I think it was the Big 12 Player of the Week this past week. So, but I think, it's what they do scheme-wise. You just have to defend that whole offense.
First time this year against what most of the metrics say is a top 10 defense. What are the challenges? They have a high stop rate. They're good at getting 3 outs. Yeah. What are the challenges? Because you guys have shown if you can get that first down, that things really start to snowball for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great defense we're playing. You mentioned the metrics, and just look at some of the stats, and then turn the film on, and it backs it up. I mean, they're very stout. They have two, tall, strong defensive ends on the edge. I think one of them maybe one of the top sack guys in the country. The other one, I mean, he runs like a linebacker. And then some 2 big linebackers on the inside as well that can move, and then some outstanding DBs, and they put pressure on you. I mean, I'm watching the Colorado game, and I felt like they pressured them all night, and they lived in the backfield. So they constantly put pressure on the offenses, and you have to do a great job of trying to stay on the sticks and not getting in those long yard situations, because if you do, then they got you. And I think part of that is playing clean football. I think in this environment it'll be a challenge anyway, because it's going to be loud for your offense, and for us very similar probably to our first game against an Arrowhead, how loud that was. So so you have to stay on the sticks. You have to stay where you can get those down distances manageable. And then we got to do a great job of being able to do both, run and pass. And I think these guys do a great job of pass defense. They're one of the top pass defensive teams in the country. And I think a lot of it has to do with the pressure they put on you. They play a lot of man-to-man.
Coach, I was watching the Clifton Cut last night. Something that caught my attention was the quote that you used, put them in the phone booth. I was just curious if you could elaborate a little bit more on that and where that quote kind of came from.
Yeah, I mean, we just, as we were preparing last week, and really it's what it just speaks to being a physical football team. We have to, impose your will on whoever you're going against, and really it's the one-on-one battles throughout the whole day. And it doesn't matter what that battle is. If it's Gavin versus their nose, like he's got to win that battle right there. And you can go to every single position, and really just trying to emphasize how physical we needed to be. And I think, and we were. We came out of that game running the football for 265 yards. We imposed our will. And I think that's what kind of game that was last week. Now this week you're playing a team, I think, played the same way as we tried to play last week. I think they're a very physical team. They obviously want to run the football, play great defense. I mean, this is a team like how we wanted to play last week. And so, this is going to be a very physical contest as we play this week. And, and I think that's what we have to be able to prepare for as we practice this week.
Scott, looking at what Tally Walker being the physical bulldozer of a running back that he is, and then Evan Pryor who can hit a home run at basically any play, was this the vision that you had for these two running backs to really complement each other as this season has gone on? You guys have won 7 straight games.
Yeah, I think so. There's been a lot of questions, especially early on. I remember Scott asking a bunch of running back questions in the first couple of weeks. I mean, and I think this is kind of how we envisioned it. You got a guy who can run right through you and impose his will. He's had some great tough yardage runs. The 4th downs this past week was huge. I mean, running through these guys. And then you have a guy you can bring in, Evan, who can run around you, who can catch the ball out of the backfield. And I think you want to keep those guys fresh. And anytime you can rotate those guys, it is hard for the defense. And so, what we thought was going to happen, that's just kind of how we would envision this. And it's been fun to watch those guys work.
Any update on Evan?
No, not yet. I think he'll be listed probably as out as we head to tomorrow. Obviously the first time you got to release that. So, we'll see how he is and how he continues to progress throughout the week.
So, Chance after him then, or one of the younger guys?
Yeah, you got Manny, you got Chance, you got Zion. I think all 3 of those guys could be viable options for sure. As we go throughout this week and practicing, we'll see where we're at with those guys. But I think all those the other guys are similar to Evan. In fact, that how they're speed guys, they're quick, they're a different style of running compared to Tally.
What about the silent cadence? It's probably going to be pretty noisy there. I don't know any place is going to be noisier than Arrowhead,
Yeah.
but it does get loud there.
It
So I
does.
hear.
Yeah, we'll prepare for that. One good thing about having the indoor here, we can really crank up the volume in there, and it can be deafening in this building. So that's how we'll practice the next couple of days here for Tuesday and Wednesday practices, and turn that up and work our silent cadence. It's still, communication will be really key offensively. And watching them on film, I think, Texas Tech early in the year didn't use a silent cadence, but they had, I think, 7 false start penalties maybe. Colorado this past weekend, they did not use the silent either. I've seen guys use it, I've seen guys not use it. We'll prepare for the worst and hope for the best.
Is there advantage to having done that at a game in Arrowhead that was deafening?
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be hard to be louder than Arrowhead was that night. That was as loud as a stadium as I've been, maybe top 2 or 3 that I've been into. Great environment. So yeah, there's a lot of things about that game that will help us as we head to this week in this game.
Scott, the news just came out a couple minutes ago. Antoine Peak was named a semifinalist for the Jim Thorpe Award. Could you just walk us through his journey, obviously becoming a walk-on to a key starter for this team? Now to see all this hard work and pay off, could you just elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Antoine is a hard worker. We want to be a program where you have to earn everything, and he exemplifies that. I mean, he has earned everything, literally, from a walk-on to earning a scholarship, to earning a starting position, to earning playing time, and then to earning the respect, I think, now that he's warranted. He is a headhunter. I think he's a very physical tackler, and he does a great job of punching the ball out. I mean, he's been doing that his whole career. But I also love the fact that he is a humble person. He doesn't say a whole lot. He just works his tail off, and I really appreciate that about him. And you can count on him. I mean, his consistency has been incredible.
Scott, when you look at the drive that puts you up 34-20 after Baylor comes back and makes a one-score game, Brendan hits Noah Jennings' crucial third down, and then you just run the ball straight down their throats. What does it say about the Sorsby to Noah Jennings play, the trust that you have in Sorsby to make that crucial throw, and then just the ability to wear a defense down with running the football and put the game away?
Yeah, that was a huge drive, obviously, because that was a tipping point, I think, in that game. You know, we're up 7 points. They got the momentum, and also I think we had a penalty, so this 2nd and 18, it was long. Sorsby takes off running and gets about 6 or 7 yards, and then Noah makes the third down catch there, which was a huge play for us to keep that drive alive. And I think once we hit that first down, all right, now let's go. Let's start running the football. 2 things: let's run that clock down, and then let's get this drive down to the end zone. And I think we just kind of imposed our will on that drive, and was able to take it all the way down. I thought we had some really, really good drives throughout the game, even in early in the game as well, where, you know, it's 10, 11 play drives. We're occupying the ball, keeping our offense off the field, you know, running the football. I thought our guys did a great job, and really hats off to the offensive line. Our offensive line's gotten a lot of accolades this year. You know, maybe not as much in this past game, but I thought they played great. I thought they blocked very physically and imposing their will on these guys, and then obviously Tyree and Evan, you know, running hard.
Going back to where you're playing this week, Rice Eccles Stadium, it hosted the 2002 Winter Olympics, and it's going to host the 2034 Winter Olympics. Do you ever think about, when you're playing in a venue like that, the significance and the historic events that it has held? Do you ever think
No,
about
I really hadn't thought about it. You know, I haven't spent a ton of time out there. I've been to the stadium and never played a game there, but we went by there on vacation one time. Just kind of stopped in. This is probably 8 or 10 years ago. Thought it was pretty cool. And then 2 years ago, we played BYU. We're staying in Salt Lake, so we're able to go by the stadium there. You know, but that's pretty neat that they've been able to host events like that. And I know this stadium, you know, looking at it on TV and obviously reading about it, how loud it is and how much of a home field advantage it is for Utah. Certainly, when you think about Big 12 venues, there's some great venues that we all get to go play at, and some awesome atmospheres, and this will be one.
Back to running back momentarily. Tyree a guy that's also seen games with 23, 24 carries. Is there also a possibility you just look to him and go more to a bell cow type deal?
It could be. You know, I think certainly, you know, want to keep him fresh. You know, but if it comes to that, I think he can handle it. You know, I think coming into this year, even when we recruited Tyree, it was a deal where, you know, he's even said it. I don't need to carry the ball 25, 30 times. You know, I don't need to have that to be happy. You know, I want to just come in here and do what I can to help the team. And so, but I do think if you get in a situation in the game where, man, he's running the ball hard, let's just keep handing the ball. We could do that with him. I think he's certainly that kind of back. Think about a guy who's, you know, close to 220 pounds and a load. And certainly, if you're hitting on that'd be something that we could lean on.
You were in Provo 2 years ago. Your teams seemed to be in pretty good fourth quarter shape. Are you feeling good about the conditioning with the altitude and all that stuff?
Yeah, I think so. I think, you know, I'm glad we went out there and played 2 years ago, because it was a Friday night, same time that we're going to play this game. I thought we, you know, played well enough to go win the game. You know, we made too many mistakes at BYU 2 years ago. We had a pick six early in the game. We had a muff punt. You know, some things that obviously hurt us, but we were right there in that game, had an opportunity, and I thought we played with great energy that night. You know, so I think, you know, it's kind of staying in the same hotel, so we've kind of been there, done that now, and I think we'll tweak a little bit of the things, but I think we'll be in good shape for this.
Coach, looking down at the game notes earlier today, I realized that the notes said Cincinnati's tied the Big 12 record with 7 straight games with two passing touchdowns, only 1 or fewer sacks. What does that say about the job this offensive line has done, and then Brendan's ability to stay consistent throughout this season?
Yeah, you know, it all starts up front. Our guys, you know, with Gavin and the rest of the boys, I mean, I think they've done a great job. You know, and then the quarterback's done a great job of getting rid of the football when he needed to, or taking it down and running when he needed to. I think he's done a great job with the checkdowns as well, because that's huge. You know, okay, it's not open down the field. Working on check this ball down to a tight end or running back. That's been very, very beneficial for us. You know, this will be the biggest challenge we've had. This team's coming off of I think they had 7 sacks last week against Colorado. You know, they're going to continue to put pressure on you, and so this will certainly be a challenge. You know, number 90, I think he's got 9.5 sacks. Number 0, the other defensive end, the guys are going to put pressure on you. So yeah, I mean, this will be a great challenge for us, and you know, we'll see where we're at after this game.
You mentioned the checkdowns and making a smart play. How much better has he been at throwing the ball away, like at living to fight another down? Because it seems like there have been quite a few throwaways where then the next play ends up being a big play.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to what we've been really harping on is taking what the defense gives us, and if it's not there, then hey, throw it away. You know, we can't. You know, sometimes the defense wins. Sometimes they play great defense, and when that happens, let's go to the next play, because then the next play may be our play that we get the first down. You know, so I think, and that comes to decision making. I think Sorge's done a great job with his decisions so far with our RPO games, but the decisions in the pass game to know when to run, know when to throw away, know when to check down. So, and I think anytime your quarterback's playing at that, then you're going to have success. It's a big reason why we're sitting here 7-1.
On the other side, it doesn't get talked about maybe as much, but you've been forcing the quarterback to run a little bit more. Is that a signal to the coaching staff that the coverage has been better than it was early in the season and maybe better than people have been giving it credit for?
Yeah, you know, you're talking about our defense.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, yeah, there's been a lot of times where there's nobody open, so they're going to try to take off and go make something happen. You know, there's no question about it. We have gotten better as the year's gone on. I think, you know, I mean, certainly, you know, Kansas did a good job in their throw game there, and then, you know, we played some quarterbacks that can really run. I think certainly, you know, throughout the season, other than last week, most everybody can move the quarterbacks. You know, last week that quarterback was not much of a runner, although he did try to take off a few times. But you know, certainly now as we go to we got 4 games left. 3 of the 4 all quarterbacks can run and move, and so you know, something we hopefully be prepared for.
It seemed like you talked about this a little bit more earlier in the season, but it seemed like against Baylor this week, the corners were up more than they had been in the past. Were you satisfied with what you saw there?
Yeah, I think we did a good job, I thought, of mixing it up this week. You know, playing some more man, some tighter man, playing some tighter zone coverage. You know, tightening the defense up. And I think in the past where, you know, you're a little bit too loose and it's some easy natural throws, and that's where some teams were hitting us up on. And so I think for us to tighten that up, it threw the quarterback off a little bit. His rhythm, I think, got messed up. He missed a few throws. I thought maybe their guys were there and open and missed them. And I think anytime you can make him, you know, get off just a little bit, then that's the difference that it takes. And but yeah, a lot of tight throws and windows. I mean, I think, you know, we had several PI calls, but hey, we're right there, you know. And I think I like the aggressiveness that we played with this past week for sure.
All good?
All right, thanks guys.
Thanks, guys.
There you go.
Thanks, Coach.